They gave people the so-called control or power of a narrative that would matter.
That's my main objective. I'm here for the best versus the best. I called on Teofimo for
But the weight, again, right? Don't forget, Teofimo's a big 140.
The drama surrounding Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez has been quietly building long before the contracts were finalized or the date was circled on the calendar. It has lived in the tension between styles, in the subtext of interviews, in the knowing glances of fighters who understand exactly what kind of danger waits on the other side of the ring. This is not a rivalry fueled by insults or theatrics. It is something colder, sharper, and far more personal. It is about control, identity, and the fear that comes when elite fighters realize they may be facing someone who can take everything they do best and strip it away. Shakur Stevenson has never been interested in allowing the public to define him. From the beginning of his career, he has rejected the idea that fans or commentators hold power over his legacy. He has said repeatedly that narratives do not win fights, opinions do not land punches. What matters happens under the lights. When the bell rings and there is nowhere left to hide, he does not ask people to believe him. He asks them to watch, to sit still and witness what unfolds, because in his mind, the truth always reveals itself in the ring. That mindset explains why this fight exists at all. Stevenson did not need Teofimo Lopez. He could have continued moving carefully, picking opponents that made sense on paper and protected his undefeated record. Instead, he called for one of the most volatile, explosive, and unpredictable fighters in the sport. He called for Teofimo because he wanted to measure himself against chaos. He wanted to stand across from someone who thrives on momentum and moments and prove that discipline and intelligence can still rule at the highest level. For Stevenson, this fight is about more than belts or rankings. It is about validation. He wants the boxing world to see him not as a technician who plays it safe, but as a master who dictates everything that happens in front of him. He wants people talking after the fight, not about what Lopez failed to do, but about what Stevenson made impossible. He wants the conversation to be unavoidable. He wants the recognition that comes only when greatness is undeniable. Teofimo Lopez approaches this fight from a completely different, emotional place. He has always been a fighter fueled by moments. When the stage is big and the stakes are high, he often finds another gear. He has built his reputation on explosive performances, on sudden shifts in momentum, on moments where raw athleticism and confidence overwhelm structure. At his best, Lopez is terrifying. He is fast, powerful, and capable of changing a fight with a single sequence. That unpredictability is his greatest weapon and his greatest weakness. Lopez does not always fight the same way twice. Some nights, he looks unbeatable. Other nights, he looks frustrated and disconnected. That inconsistency makes him dangerous to opponents and difficult to predict for analysts. It also raises questions when he faces someone as controlled and methodical as Stevenson. Among boxing professionals, the debate has been intense but revealing. Very few believe Lopez will knock Stevenson out. The power is there, but landing cleanly is another matter. Stevenson's defense is not built on desperation or reflex alone. It is built on anticipation. He reads opponents in real time, identifies patterns, and removes options before they become threats. Fighters who rely on rhythm find themselves disoriented. Fighters who rely on explosiveness find themselves swinging at empty space. Still, there are real concerns. Lopez is a big fighter at 140 pounds. He carries genuine weight and strength. And Stevenson is coming up from 135. Size matters when mistakes are punished. One misstep, one poorly timed exchange could change everything. That reality keeps the conversation from becoming one-sided. Even so, the majority of elite voices lean toward Stevenson, not because Lopez lacks ability, but because Stevenson has something rare. He has the ability to neutralize advantages. Speed can be slowed. Power can be avoided. Athleticism can be redirected. Intelligence is far harder to overcome, especially over 12 rounds. Several fighters and analysts have placed the odds around 60-40 in Stevenson's favor. That edge comes from sharpness. Stevenson is effective on both offense and defense without wasting energy. He does not chase knockouts. He builds control. His jab sets traps. His footwork creates angles that force opponents to reset constantly. Over time, that mental fatigue becomes just as damaging as physical punishment. Many believe Stevenson will use the early rounds to gather information. He will test Lopez's reactions, probe with the jab, and adjust his positioning. Lopez may find moments of success early through aggression and speed, but sustaining that pace against someone who refuses to be rushed is difficult. Once Stevenson settles into his rhythm, the fight could begin slipping away quietly, round by round. Others believe Stevenson will completely box Lopez in circles, frustrating him and forcing him into overreaction. That frustration is dangerous for Lopez. When he presses presses
Learning
too
to
hard,
slip,
openings
roll,
appear.
and stay
When he
speed
lunges,
and aggression,
counters follow.
similar to what
Against
he
a fighter with
expects from
Stevenson's
Teofimo
timing, the
Lopez.
stakes do not
Training
go
his
unpunished.
focus on
There are
training
those
less
who
focused on
insist this will
speed
be
and
Stevenson's
intensity.
hardest
He has
fight. They
sparred
point
for
to
barrier
Lopez's
defense,
explosiveness,
timing,
his
and
counterpunching
IQ give him the
ability,
advantage.
and his
Training has
tendency
focused
to
on
elevate his
high-level
performance
sparring
against
sessions
elite
designed to
opponents.
develop
Those
timing
arguments
and
are not
control of
wrong.
the-
Lopez has proven he can rise to the occasion, but fighters who have shared the ring with him often say the same thing. Once you see his patterns, the mystery fades. Jermaine Ortiz, who fought Lopez, has been clear in his assessment. He believes Stevenson will win a competitive but clear fight. From his experience, Lopez struggles to land clean shots against fighters who control distance and angles. Unless Lopez can consistently cut off the ring and trap Stevenson, the task becomes increasingly difficult as the rounds progress. Ortiz has also noted that nothing Lopez did surprised him, because he had already seen it in training. That familiarity matters. Stevenson is known for studying opponents deeply. He does not walk into fights guessing. He walks in with a plan and multiple contingencies. Even those who respect Lopez deeply acknowledge the challenge. Boxing is unpredictable. One punch can change everything. Lopez has produced unforgettable moments before, but over 12 rounds, consistency matters. Discipline matters. The ability to adapt matters. Several fighters have pointed out that Lopez performs best when the opposition demands his best. Against elite names, he unlocks something extra. That history is part of what makes this fight compelling. Stevenson is not facing a lesser version of Lopez. He is facing someone motivated, dangerous, and fully aware of what is at stake. At the same time, fighters who have faced Stevenson describe a different kind of danger. They talk about how simple everything looks from the outside, and how suffocating it feels once you are inside the ring with him. Stevenson does not overwhelm with power. He overwhelms with denial. He takes away space, time, and confidence. He forces opponents to fight his fight. Andre Ward has described Stevenson as a fighter with a blank canvas. He can adapt to whatever is in front of him. He can paint any picture the fight requires. Lopez, by contrast, thrives when he has an outline. He needs rhythm and emotion. When forced outside that comfort zone, his effectiveness can diminish. This is why the fight is often described as a chess match. Timing versus intention, strategy versus impulse. Both fighters understand the stakes. There will be no easy moments, no coasting, no shortcuts. Their training camps reflect that reality. Lopez has transformed his heavy bag work into a statement. Every punch carries purpose. Speed and power are blended with control. His preparation is about unleashing chaos with discipline. He is sharpening timing, conditioning, and explosiveness relentlessly. Stevenson's camp has been equally demanding. Long, hard sparring sessions, endless footwork drills, defense drilled into muscle memory. Against a fighter like Lopez, one mistake can shift momentum instantly. Stevenson knows survival is not enough. Control is everything. Mental preparation has been just as important. Stevenson has focused on patience and discipline, knowing when to engage and when to step away, knowing when to assert dominance and when to let frustration build. That psychological edge can be decisive. As January 31st approaches, the tension continues to rise. Experts remain divided. Though most lean toward Stevenson, some predict a decision. Others believe a late stoppage is possible if Lopez becomes reckless. A few back Lopez's explosiveness to break through. What everyone agrees on is that this fight will matter. Madison Square Garden has little patience